So we are back, and now we are going to look at this material that we have at the moment, and we see that the normal direction is acting as a mask. So since these masks are a values of black and white, so it's think about it as you can do a lot of things with it using the mix node. So we're going to get a mix here. So we got mix color, and for us to make things darker, we're going to multiply the values that we have and any kind of information that is coming in. Either it's going to be noise or it's going to be hand painted information for very specific area that you want. So for example, I'm going to bring in a noise. So this is a noise, and I'm going to plug in the factor here, and I'm going to plug this mask value from here. So let's observe the multiplication here. If you notice, it's a little faint. So let's try to push these values a little bit using a color ramp so we can see it better. And there you go. So now we have this noise that is multiplying along uh, uh, with the white value. Okay, so we can stack multiple uh, masks on top of each other, and we can even add more on top. So let's try to bring in. I know it's getting a little intimidated and complicated, but just think about all of these processes as Photoshop. Okay, so this is you got one layer, and this layer is going to have a levels. Okay, and it's there's a noise generator which we do have. And I'm going to show you even in Clip Studio we do have this kind of generators in there. So let's launch here. Okay. So if you're going to see, we're going to go for filter, there's render, and we get Perlin noise. So we have the noise, it's right here. And if we're going to go for uh, layer for correction, and we're going to go for levels, so we're doing the same exact operation that we are doing in Blender. So think about that, and we are stacking this to be its own single layer. So let's call it layer one. And then we're going to bring in let's make another layer, and we're going to bring in a gradient. Let's make the gradient and two values. So the other value, I'm going to go for white. This one is going to go for white. We're going to select this one, and we are going to go for, so just black and white, just like how we would have it in Blender. And we are going to multiply. So you see, it's stacking on top of each other. And if we are going to have another corrective layer for this one, so we're going to have a layer correction, we can push the black and white value, and now we have this kind of very interesting noise uh, that is stacked along with it, and we can separate these and we can make it multiply. So it's multiplying on top of whatever we have in the bottom. And basically that is mix node. That is a mix node right here. We got it in multiply mode, and we can stack more of these. So we can do this again, we can plug something else, and we do it again, we plug something else. So that's how we can work with this. Okay. It's not, it looks intimidating, but it's actually very simple. It's just you got to get the logic of it to get the fear and the noise and the chaos out of the way. Funny, the noise. So, uh, so just here, okay, just to keep your eyes open as well. Uh, you are not just limited by only these things, okay? And also you can use for, let's say, let's show an example. So the example that I showed before, I believe, during the workshop. Yes. Okay. I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. Okay. And it already has a UV, so it should be fine. Okay. So I'm going to start a new material and I'm going to bring in an image. We're going to have grass. So this is grass. And here I'm going to bring an image. We're going to bring in the rock. Okay, this one. It's a rock tile. Let's plug it in. I'm going to turn off the specular for now. I'm going to create a mapping node for both of them. So this is based on the UV. And I'm going to add a value node. So instead of increasing these one by one, so I'm going to go two, then two, then two. I don't want to do that. I'll just plug this one here and it's just a single change and that's it. Two, four. Okay. So we have this here. Let's go for three for now. Yeah, something around there. And we're going to have a value. So three again. I'm going to plug this here. Okay. So here we have this transition happening between those two walls. Okay. And there's something called ambient occlusion. Ambient occlusion is where two objects, if you see here, now there is a shadow happening when we're activating this one in the render properties. So the ambient occlusion, if I'm going to bring in two objects, this is object number one, and I'm going to duplicate it, and object number two. If you see where the object is interacting, okay, it's uh, it's showing shadow. So if I'm going to try to push these values up, I'm going to give this a material, and you can call the ambient occlusion as a node. So I'm going to plug it in into the color. Okay. Currently, nothing is happening. There is a little bit of change. Okay, there you go. So there's already some change happening in here. And what we can do is that we can also add a color ramp to this. And you can push it a little further. Okay, make it a little darker. You can change the color of this thing. You can remap it. So we have the ambient occlusion. Okay, so we understand what ambient occlusion is, and we have it. But again, ambient occlusion is a black and white information. So we can use that as a mask. So I'm going to take the grass here and I'm going to copy this. So copy, go to here. Let's give this a little space and I'm going to paste. Bam. Magical, right? So you can do that. Let's get a mix node. So we got mix color. Okay. So color number one, color number two, and I'm going to plug this into here. So currently we have this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the ambient occlusion and I'm going to give it a color ramp, just like what we did. I'm going to plug this here and I'm going to plug this where? Because it's a mask in the factor, in our opacity. So here it's reversed. So what we need to do is just do this. Voila. So now we have grass growing on the wall, which is like, that's what happens in nature, right? You're going to have this, a little bit of grass is going to grow on the wall where the wall is touching the grass. So we can do this, okay? And we can also, let's see what the mask is. So the mask has dark values here, okay? So I can bring in a noise, okay? So I'm going to bring in the noise. Let's see. So this is the noise. We're going to have a color ramp. So we have a color ramp. Going to increase that. So in here, okay, let's increase the scale a little bit. All right. So in here, okay, for our mask, because this is the black values, right? And we have the white values are the more dominating, and that's what the rock is. And I want the rock to be like the pattern be a little bit more random, right? So instead of to make things lighter, right? Because we want the white to cut through the black, we're gonna have an add. So we get a mixed color, and this time we're gonna use add. So I'm gonna plug this here. Let's hope it's gonna work out. And let's plug this one. Oh, sorry. We're gonna plug it into the A and B because we're laying these two masks together. So this is gonna be our result. There you go. You see it? And I'm gonna plug this into the factor. And let's see the result. Voila. So you see now we have these. It's a little bit more random because we added all of these values, and we can try to push that and see. Pretty cool, right? We're cutting through the grass here. So you could use it that way. You could use ambient occlusion as a factor here to bake your textures. Okay, so ambient occlusion can be used for crevices. So every area that has certain crevice, you can put texture into that for specific things, for like rust, for dirt that is going to accumulate in all of these areas. So you think about that, you could use it that way. All right. So I want to add things manually. I want grass to grow in this area because I just want it to. All right. So what you can do is that we're going to have an image. So we got an image texture. We're going to make that. Okay. So again, now we are stacking masks on top of each other, right? So I'm going to take this. All right. And I'm going to create another one. So I'm duplicating this one. This time it's going to be multiply because I want grass to go in, right? And our black values is where the grass is growing, right? So we're going to multiply, and I'm going to plug this one in. Yeah. So I'm going to plug it here. Let's plug it this one here. So we're going to see, let's see the result because the texture is all black. So we have to do some texture paint. And I think we have a paint bucket, or no, we don't. Okay, let's just use the white here. So I'm going to paint in the white. Okay, painting in the white right there. And now we're going to plug this right into our factor, right? Because that's the mask that we want. And now I'm going to view the result. Voila, we have grass growing exactly where we want it to go. So you can stack masks to create your texture. It does not require a lot of work from you. And you can use all of that information for different channels as well, like your roughness, your normal. This mask is going to be very effective and helpful for you to create many variations of the same textures, and it's going to cut down on the process of you going through uh, texturing softwares. If you cannot afford it, it will cut down on the process of going jumping from one software to another. So we know how to stack masks now, and we know that the vertices carry all of that information. And one more thing. So the cool thing is that we can we can for a fact. I'm gonna bring in a color attribute, so we can use the color attribute and not just in any way. Okay. So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna create a color data block. Let's call it. So we're calling it. And what we can do, because it's RGB, right? So we can do this. So let's go for, I want the red channel. So this is the red. It's not reading. Oh, because we're in texture. Sorry. We're in texture mode. Vertex paint. There you go. Sorry for that. Okay. So we're going to have this. And now you can paint this, right? Right? The vertex. So if I'm going to plug this directly now, where is that? It's not showing. It's embarrassing me now. Shame, shame. Shame, shame on you. I guess I need a little more vertices. Let's put more vertices. There you go. Oh, that is strange. Color attribute. Let's go for green. Oh, the green is working. Okay. Blue. That is very wild. Okay. Hmm. Oh, there you go. So this is the blue. All right. It's erasing itself. Oh, it's going to be white. Right, 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 right. So I'm going to erase here. So this is where the red is. The red, if we're going to get red, there you go. I was confused for a second there. Okay. So the red is going to be the white because that's what's filling the channel, and absence of red is black, right? I was confused for a second, but yeah, you can use a combination of colors to create different things, and you could use this information, okay, as fake ambient occlusion as well to make your object look a little bit more realistic. Interacting with the space because ambient occlusion is also a little bit expensive and it does take space in the texture for certain cases. So just to show you a certain case, for example, let's keep this one here, and I'm gonna bring in a box. So this is a box right here. Okay. So this box is interacting with this environment, and I'm gonna so I can show you. I'm gonna turn off the ambient occlusion, right? And I'm going to give this one a little bit of geometry. So here, this is the trade-off where you use these kind of cases where, because you're saving on memory for texture space, you're saving on GPU power and CPU power for rendering, what they call a screen space ambient occlusion. You don't want to do that process. You're making it for a mobile game, right? So if you're making for a mobile game, then that's a trick that is going to be very handy. So I'm going to make a material here, and I'm going to create a color attribute. So we have this here, and I'm going to color. So color attribute, and I'm going to plug this one in, and I'm going to separate. We have the color, okay, and okay, so I'm gonna go for vertex paint. I'm gonna select the object, go for vertex paint, and we're gonna go for blue for now. So we are manually doing this. We are manually painting this ambient occlusion into our object. Okay, we're painting it into the object, and it it gave the object a little bit more depth, right? And this is when you have for static objects that are not going to move in your level, you can do that. It will make the scene has more depth, and you will use less textures. And when I say less textures, it's not just about the ambient occlusion, but also if we're gonna bring in an image, and I'm going to use our rock tile, and I'm gonna mix it with this one. So I'm gonna mix here, multiply. So now we have our rock texture here. Let's make it into a box mapping better. And okay, and objects. There you go. So even if we're going to increase the values of this texture, we are not going to affect the ambient occlusion. It's going to stay there. It doesn't matter how much we're adjusting the texture. So that gives us the help of managing the texture memory, because we're just using one texture to tile it over many other rock objects. Okay, and all of that information can be used to stack a lot of things on top of each other without affecting your memory. Okay, so even so, we could use the just like what I showed before, the geometry here. So we got geometry, and we have the separate. Let's separate the normals so we can check the normals here. That is the blue. And we are going to, let's duplicate all of that setup so we don't have to redo it. And then we're going to just put the grass and then mix color. And we're going to put that here, and we're going to plug the blue, right here as a mask. And I think we need to reverse. No, we don't need to. So you see here, there you go. Now we have grass growing on top. We have ambient occlusion, and we use basically the geometry normals, okay, the object normals to create the grass on top. And we have the ambient occlusion on the bottom. And let's try to subdivide and see what happens. Subdivide this object. There you go. Let's smooth it up a bit. For now, turning off the specular. Wow. Okay. So you can play a lot. You can play with that. You can do a lot of things with all of this. All right. You can create unique objects for your animation scene. Okay, and you can texture this whole area that you have your whole scene using this kind of this is kind of lightweight method. Okay, to create all of these textures, because you're not using a lot of textures, unique textures that are going to be uh, uh, affecting your memory, your render memory. Like right now, all of this, we're not using much memory on our scene. So also, it will help you in the future and building maybe a custom material inside Unity, because all of the what I'm showing you right now is kind of applicable in Unity. What you need to know and what I'm teaching you is this is fundamentals. This is the foundation information that every 3D software has and every 3D engine has, from either Unity, Unreal, Godot, whatever game engine is there, it uses the same principles because they're all built on these same principles. So this is going to conclude our explanation for vertex information, as well as the masking and the binary information that you would have in the texture, which we can create masks of. So I hope this is informative and helpful. And next is going to be UVing and texturing, different texture methods. All right. This is Zaid signing out.